Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's latest episode of Can I Kick It FC? I'm your host, as always, Elliot Barr. And joining me is not only a lady that can fix your teeth if you have dental issues, but can also score a bunch of goals, Mr. Kristelle Yewah. How are you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I cannot complain. I am tired, but I'm doing good.
I feel that completely.
Right. Well, you are really going through it, not only with dentistship, but like you got a big test coming up soon, right?
Yeah, so I have my big boards exam that I'm taking. You can kind of take it like anytime before like December of your fourth year, but with the
Mhm.
soccer season coming up, I was like, I should get this out of the way so I can, focus a little bit more on that and have fun with that.
Yeah, that's probably the right call. So with these
Yeah.
board exams, are you looking to place anywhere or what is that about?
It's basically just like everything you've learned from the first 3 years all into
Mhm.
one exam. And so it's just like a pass fail type of thing. Yeah.
How long is that? Is that I gotta imagine that's like 2 hours.
It's longer than that. I think it's like 500 questions total, and it's split into like 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, no. Absolutely not.
I know.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I definitely understand why we were like, "Hey, we gotta do this interview now."
Yes, exactly.
Oh, man. Yeah, I wish you the best of luck with that.
Thank you, I
Wish you the
appreciate
best
that.
of luck with that. Also in great news, your well, I don't know if it's your home nation, but your origin country, Cameroon, qualified for the World Cup. How you feel about that?
I'm feeling good, I always had faith that we could do it, but I'm glad I mean, it was a close one from what I saw, but I'm glad we made it.
Right, right. I want to ask you about that. Like, being someone of Cameroon origin, have you always felt really connected to the country, or is it kind of just like, oh wow, like they're really about to like? Do you feel close to them? I should say.
I do, just because I still have, like, so much family back there,
Mhm.
and so everyone in my family except for me, because 'cause I'm the youngest, was born there too. So, I still have, like, all my cousins, grandparents that are still alive are back there, and so my parents like, my dad came here when he was, like, 26, so, yeah,
Wow.
there's a lot still back there.
So I imagine with Cameroonian parents that education and, like, education success is, like, high up on the list. If there anything
Oh,
like
yeah.
Caribbean parents, I imagine how they are.
Yeah, it's like, you already know, like, people when I tell them I'm Cameroonian, they're like, "Oh." Then I tell them, like, what my brother and sister and I are doing, and they're like, "That makes sense."
So what are your brother and sister doing?
So, my brother, he just finished his MBA at, University of Michigan, and so he's an investment banker now, and then
Okay.
my sister is graduating medical school in, like, 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Is this your younger sister or older sister?
They're both older. She's my older sister.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
my
are you
older
kind of
brother.
following in her footsteps when it comes to school medical?
Well, cause I'm doing dental, so, like, I guess the healthcare has always been in my family because my mom's a doctor too, but I didn't wanna go down, like, the medical school route, and I like, using my hands, more of a hands-on person, so
Yeah.
dentistry just kinda, like, spoke to me, and I've always loved going to the dentist. I know I'm a weird one since I was young.
Okay, now I need you to explain this. You love going to the dentist?
Yeah, it's like t getting your teeth cleaned, like, why wouldn't you like doing that? So you
I
just
mean,
sit there
yeah.
and someone else does it for you.
I mean, yeah, getting your teeth cleaned is cool, but like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, going to the dentist is, like, one of the most annoying things for me because it's just, like, that silence, and all you hear is the drill going, I'm like, "Oh god."
I don't know what it was, but I always loved it. Like, getting my teeth cleaned was my favorite.
Wow, okay,
Mhm.
alright, so I'm learning something new every day. Well, I wanna pivot a little bit, talk to you about your soccer career. How did
Mhm.
you come into love soccer? Like, how did you first start playing it? How did you get exposed to it?
My older siblings played, and then I had, like my uncle was a coach, just like one of the rec local teams around us. And I think I was, like, about 4, and he let me play with the older kids. So I just started playing and I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with it. I started seeing, I guess, at a young age that I was pretty good at it too. So that obviously was helpful and like inspired me to want to be better and stuff too.
Mm. So were you
Yeah.
always playing forward when you was growing up, or were you kinda, like, all over the place?
I always been a forward.
Okay, always been a
Yeah.
forward. So you
hmm
have no problem scoring, I can see. So how was your, like, high school career? I wanna start off there before we talk about, like, Michigan State and things like that. Like, your high
Okay.
school career, what were some of the biggest highlights in that part of your life?
So I was pretty fortunate. I had like a really, really good high school. I'm trying to think, my freshman year, I was on varsity all 4 years, which was nice. And then freshman year, we were good. My sophomore year, we actually won the state championship, Division I state championship. And I think we had like 9 of the 11 starters going to play in college, and like 6 or 7 were at Division I schools. So like
Okay.
we were a
So y'all
really
was
lucky
stacked.
team.
Y'all was out there ready to
Yeah,
score up on teams.
exactly. And
Okay.
then my junior year, like, still good. I won, like, one of the, I can't even think what the name of it was, local player of the year awards like that, and then senior year, I was fortunate enough to, make, like, the dream team, like, all those awards I was able to get. And so, yeah, it was just, like, a fun time. You're, like, in your kinda early teens.
I mean, I bet it is if you racking up 10-0 score lines.
Exactly.
I bet it is.
Yes.
So at an early age, did you have to learn how to balance, high academic achievement and like athletic achievement at the same time?
Yeah, I for sure definitely when I was younger placed a little bit more on like the athletic side. My
Okay.
parents could tell you that part. But then, they're like, "Soccer's not gonna be forever," and I'm like, "You guys are right." So then, that switch kinda went off my head, I guess I was getting older, but I just guess you learn, like, okay, if I wanna be able to go to soccer practice, because my parents, like, did not play around. It's like, if you don't finish stuff, like, they don't care if you're the star player, like, the team needs you or anything, like, I had to depend on them to drive me. It's like, they're not taking me if unless, like, my stuff is done.
That sounds
So it's like
100% like my mom.
yeah. So it's like, okay, well, if you're like, I had to get all my schoolwork done or make sure, like, I had my studying done so that I could go to practice and things like that. So yeah, I had to learn from an early age.
Yeah, yeah, true. So let's go talk about your recruitment to Michigan State. What other
Mhm.
places did you look at? What made you feel like Michigan State was the place for you?
Yeah, so I looked at wow, this is so long ago. I'm really trying to think back, but I know I had gone to a lot of, like, the, elite camps, which is like a one-day camp where, where the coaches kind of for, like, higher level players, coaches can see you play, like, at their field, and so I know, like, Northwestern, I had a really big interest there, and then, like, Maryland, University of Maryland, in College Park, that was another one, and then Grand Valley actually as well, because they were in Michigan, and they're a really, really, really good, Division II program. Like, they always win the national championship and stuff,
Yeah.
and then just being, like, a local Michigan girl as well, that helped, and then I feel like it wasn't until it was my sophomore year when we played that state championship game at Michigan State, and I remember seeing, like, the fans from Okemos, because it's, like, pretty close to each other, how much they came out to support the games, and I was like, "Man, like, I don't know if I can let this go, like, this family support, community support, people who know me," and so that was, like, one of my biggest things for picking Michigan State was because wanted my family and friends to be able to come to my games.
Oh, okay. So family be
Mhm.
able to go there. All
Yep.
right. Yeah, I mean, that is a big proponent of it.
Yeah.
So I can tell, like, at your time at Michigan State, you were oh, correct me if I'm wrong, you were the star player, more or less, I wanna say?
What'd you say?
I said you were more or less like the star player, right?
I wouldn't s no, I honestly wouldn't say I was.
Okay. Because I
Yeah.
was reading these stats and I was like, she was legit, like,
I
to
would
me,
say
you
I
came
was
across as a star
legit.
player. So how was it your freshman year there? Like, what were some of the big transitions you had to make to get adjusted to playing college level soccer?
Freshman year was tough. It was just, I guess, more of like the physicality side of things, especially in the Big Ten itself. Like our conference is known to be one of like the most physical conferences, and so
Mhm.
just having to get up to speed with like fitness, and then I'd never really gone through like lifting, like with a trainer or something. Like, I just kind of relied on, like, my natural athleticism for most of my career. So that big transition of having to actually put in, like, so much work to be able to even just have a chance to play was big eye opener.
Right. I imagine like being a freshman walking onto the field, you're like, oh, so these are elite. These are
I
different level
I
athletes.
remember girls were like I feel like I was always, like, one of the strongest in, like, high school and stuff, you know? And I remember I think we played a team in California. The girls were, like, 6'2", 6'3", like, 6'1", like, definitely had more, like, meat on their bones than I did, and I was like, "Oh, so I can't just, like, get away with this now." And, like, I remember some center back hit me so hard, I just fell flat to the ground. It was, like, my welcome to college moment.
So you had a flying through the air moment. You were like, oh, this
Yes.
is life.
Yes, exactly.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this then. What would that first ever training session you had at Michigan State?
Mhm.
How badly was it for you? Like, how quickly did you adjust to training in college versus high school?
I remember that like it was yesterday because it's so funny, one of the girls I know, I'm good friends with her now, but she was a center back and she would not let me, like, touch the ball. You know, it's like if you're a senior or, like, older, you can't let the freshmen come in easy. They have to know that it's hard to get in there, so I was able to adjust, like, right away, but I remember being like, "Oh, okay, like, this is the real deal."
I imagine so. I imagine it's the hierarchy. It's the hierarchy.
Exactly, exactly.
So your sophomore year, you scored, I believe, is your first ever goal against Michigan. How important was
Yeah.
that goal for you? Like, how cool did it feel to score
That was
against
a
the
big
rival?
one. That was a big one just because obviously it was against Michigan, and then I had a lot of family and friends come to that game. I remember that game, it was, like, one of our bigger games, and I think I'd been kind of just, like, in a rut, you know, I wasn't used to, like, not scoring a lot just coming from high school and, like, club and stuff, so to finally get that goal, it was almost like a weight off my shoulders
Yeah.
too, so yeah.
Speaking about that weight on your shoulders, like, you were a pre-dental major at Michigan State at
Mhm.
your time on the soccer team. So,
Yep.
like, the mental stress and I imagine, like, how tiring that must have been. Like, how was it for you dealing with it? Being a top level D1 athlete and then also having this difficulty in a demanding major.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard, but honestly, I think these schools do such a good job with like, especially with helping athletes out with being able to manage that stress. Like, I had an academic advisor, still talk to her to this day, that was able to help me so much. You know, she like scheduled my classes for me basically. So it's like I didn't have to worry about that stuff because she knew like when I had practice, like when I had to be there for lift, like all this stuff. And then my coaches were also super, forgiving and understanding if like I had to miss a couple of practices because a class was only offered at this time or if I had to come late to practice or something.
Wow. So that's good to see.
Mhm.
That's good to see the coach was like
Yeah,
understanding of like, hey, look, there's more to life than this.
exactly. They placed a big, they made it a big point to make academics very up there,
Mhm.
which was nice, so people, like, weren't scared to tell them, like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss like, I have to go to this class, it's only offered at this time," so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So take a little pause from your athletic career back to Michigan
Mhm.
State. Do you find yourself more having more hatred, I guess, towards Michigan or Ohio State?
It's so funny because I grew up a Michigan fan because my dad went there for undergrad or for his, like, grad school or whatever, so I've always been a U of M fan, and, like, I was barely around Michigan State that much, like, never went to any games or anything until, like, I committed there and then started going to more things.
Wow. So
Yeah.
okay, so hold on. Let's unpack this a little bit. So dad went to UM.
Yep.
Where did mom go?
She went to Johns Hopkins to do her master's.
Okay, so
Yep.
mom was definitely the smartest out of everybody.
Yes.
Okay. John Hopkins. I'm from Virginia, and I have friends in the Maryland area, so I know about John Hopkins, and I'm like,
Oh,
that's a whole
yeah.
different level of education up there.
Exactly.
An older brother went to UM, right?
Yeah, he went there for his grad school, but he went to Kalamazoo College for undergrad.
Okay, and where did
Mhm.
sister where did your sister go?
So she went to Hope College for undergrad, but then she went to U of M for her master's program and then Michigan State for med school, so she's like
Okay, so
right
for the
in the
purpose of the
middle.
story, pretty much everyone is tied to the maize and blue.
Yes, except for me.
So they didn't recruit you? Knowing that, like,
No,
wow.
I know. My dad, I think he still will never let them live it down.
Wow.
Yeah,
I would at least thought, like, they would at least throw, like, an offer and be like, "Hey, come join the family." No,
right?
wow.
Nope, nothing.
So, with you being the Spartan in the family, do you kind of rub it in your family's face? Of like
Oh, yes. Every single chance I get, like, any game we win, I just, like, send the looking eyes in the family group chat. And
Oh,
they just
man.
know. They just know.
They just know.
Mhm.
So, I'm pretty sure I'm trying to think, did Michigan State beat Michigan this year in football?
Mm.
Um, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure you sent some looking eye emojis after they lost to Georgia in the blowout that was in the college football playoff.
Oh, yeah. I was like, "Great game, guys." 'Cause that's what my brother always says with, like, "Oh, like, Kristelle, a good game by your team," and I'm like, "I don't wanna hear it right now."
Oh man, that is hilarious. That is 100% hilarious. So when you scored this goal against Michigan, I have to imagine you talked a massive amount of trash talk.
I really, like, don't think I did.
Like, that was your opportunity right there.
It really I think more so because my senior year, I scored against them again,
Okay.
and that was, like, a game winner, so I feel like more so there, I was, like, a little bit more like, "Ah," but the sophomore year goal, I was just like, "I'm just gonna take this and be humble and glad that I just got my goal finally."
So we see the difference in sophomore Chris now and seniors there.
Exactly.
See the difference. So definitely
Exactly.
about your senior year, you were one of the 4 captains. How
Mhm.
important was it to you to be named the captain?
Um, it was, pretty important. I'm glad that I was able to be named. I felt like I was really, really, good at connecting with people.
Mhm.
So a lot of, like, the younger girls always came to me if they needed anything and, like, talked to me, so it's pretty, like, approachable. So I wouldn't say I was, like, super surprised, but I was glad that I was named for sure.
I mean, you kinda had to know, like, "Hey, I'm a
Yeah.
senior, like, guys, I'm gonna score against Michigan, like, come on." Mm.
Exactly.
S okay, last question about this, but when you score against Michigan, does, like, the team or does, like, the campus treat you a little bit differently? Like, "Hey, like, you scored against that school up there."
I feel like my sophomore year, because so many people were at that game, I definitely remember, like, going out that night and people saying stuff to me. But senior year was, like, a rainy I remember our game was supposed to be, like, a Saturday underneath the lights. Game got canceled 'cause the weather, and so, like, nobody really came on Sunday, and it was just, like, pouring rain still, so people, like, message me and stuff, but not too much recognition in person.
Ah, true, 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 true.
Yeah.
Um, NCAA tournament? How like, how was that experience? Did you guys make it to the tournament? I was trying to find
No.
okay.
So it was like my sophomore year is probably the closest that we got, but we never were able to make it. Ever since they added like Rutgers and Maryland and we have like 14 teams now in the Big Ten,
Mhm,
it's pretty tough to make it.
wow. Did I
hmm
ever, like, eat at you athletically? Like,
Oh,
no
yeah.
oh, wow.
Because I thought sophomore year, like, we for sure were gonna make it. Like, there was no doubt in my mind.
What happened sophomore year? Like, you guys just missed out on the game or something, or
It's like we had one thing we could not lose to Ohio State. And it's like we had to win or tie, and then
mhm,
there were other teams playing, and it was like, teams that are at the top of the bracket versus the bottom, and for some reason, just like even if we would have lost, but the top teams won, we would have made it. But of course, like the bottom team somehow beat like the top team, so we just were completely out.
just completely I was just done.
Yep. It was just like,
Alright.
dang.
So, you finish up senior year, you graduate. What is your thought? Are you thinking about going pro, or are you like, "Alright, I've done my 4 years. I'm gonna put that aside and just go full blown into, being a dentist and
Mhm.
playing in people's mouths."
So, as we said, I have African parents, so I felt like the whole playing after school thing was never like, I think I mentioned it, like, a couple times, like, kind of as, like, a joke, but, just to see, like, what they'd say about it, and they're like, "Oh," like, they for sure, like, didn't even take me serious.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Like, it was just like, "Oh, well, no, like, you're going to dental school." I'm like, "Okay, okay." Just thought I'd try it out, like, I'm gonna go to dental school. I would've always gone to dental school, but it's like, dental school's always gonna be there. I'm not always gonna be in shape to be playing soccer.
Right. Like, these hands are always gonna be here, mom,
Exactly.
but these
But
knees, this
my
back.
mom was, like, always so concerned with me getting hurt. That was, like so when I was done and, like, no more injuries, she was like, "Yes, like, that's it. You're done, you're done."
Oh my god. So please don't tell me your mom like, okay, so did you ever have, like, a big injury or anything during college?
I actually so my junior year is when I had, like, my 2, it was, like, a MCL tear and then,
Oh,
like, a LCL, yeah. So I almost made it through, like, my whole career never getting hurt.
so was mom in that game or no?
Yeah, she
Did she
was.
run on the field and, like
She didn't run on the field because they have, like, the fences, but I remember my sister always, like, recorded because my dad was, like, crazy at games, and he literally you just hear him in the recording, like, "You killed my daughter out there on the field?" Because I was just laying down there.
oh my god. What was I'm pretty I know you're going through pain in this moment, but what was going through your head? You was like, "Dad, you're embarrassing me
I
right
don't know
now."
if I honestly don't think I heard him, but, like, everyone else did, and it was just so funny.
Wow. I can
Mhm.
imagine that, I can imagine. Is so you said, like, you kinda made the decision to go on to dental school.
Mhm.
Um, what was in your process? What were you looking for in the school, and what made you decide to go to, Minnesota?
So, I definitely was looking for a big school in, like, a bigger city, and then I wanted a school that had, like, sports still, just because in my time like, I got to tailgate a little bit, a good amount, but I still wanted to do, like, the young college things just to make myself feel younger while I was in grad school.
Oh my
And
god.
so I was like, somewhere with a football team for sure, like, the Big Ten would be nice, so and then I remember Minnesota when we came here, it was one of, like, my favorite campuses to visit because I just thought it was so nice and pretty, and obviously we were here, like, when it was still summer out or, like, nice out, not in the
Right,
winter.
right. So you're a Golden Gopher as well.
Yeah.
So how does that go when they play Sparty?
Oh, for sure cheer for Michigan State every time.
Oh, okay, so you're just at Minnesota just for the vibes and the education.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
okay. Alright, that makes a lot of sense. I feel you on
But
that.
when Minnesota plays Wisconsin, I always cheer for Minnesota. That
Can't go
one's
wrong
like, you
there.
have to, exactly.
Can't go wrong there. Can't go wrong there. So, dental school, how is that whole thing? Like, I know it has to be difficult, but how difficult is it for you?
So, I feel like, it's weird because obviously in college I had soccer, which was taking a big part of my time up, but was still able to, like, balance academics, and then I come to dental school, I'm like, I have no soccer, and I'm like, "Wait, I actually have more time, like, to do stuff than I thought." This is only, like, 1st semester, 1st year, though. They eased us into it.
Yeah.
And so I remember 1st semester, 1st year, I'm like, "Oh my god, this is not that bad, like, I don't have to, like, soccer, I don't have to be anywhere at a certain time, like, I can just do my work when I want to," And then our 2nd semester, like, I think we had, like, 28 credits or something that we were taking, and so yeah, I've just, like, never been that busy with, like, school only in a really long time, and so it's nice, like, having, your friends and people to study with, which was really
Mhm.
helpful, but then we went into, COVID hit my 1st or 2nd semester of my 1st year. I, like, went home for what I thought was spring break, ended up staying home from March until June.
Yeah, when COVID hit, because I'm a teacher. When COVID hit, I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, dog, we're gonna be back. We'll probably be out like 2 weeks, spring break. We'll be
Yes.
back by May."
Yep.
Nope. It's
That's
definitely not back by
exactly what
May.
happened to us. Our dean is like, "Yeah, I was gonna push you guys coming back for, like, a week." And he's like, "Okay, we're just gonna give me, like, another week." And he's like, "Yeah, like, we'll tell you guys when to come back because we don't know what's happening."
Yeah, everything. Um,
Mhm.
so now fast forward, here we are. USL is coming up with a women's league.
Mhm.
What is going through your head? Like, how are you thinking like maybe I should try for this, or like how did
Yes.
this whole thing happen?
Yeah, so I always played on, like, these teams, in undergrad in the summer just to keep in shape. Our coach, like, wanted us to, keep playing soccer, and so when I came here initially, I was like, "Oh, they'll probably be a good team." Like, Minneapolis, it's a pretty big city. I remember there's just, like, no team, and I'm like, "Dang, okay, well, I'll just play, like, recreational, get the like, through the school, you know?" And then one of my friends, she played soccer around here at Augsburg University, so she kinda has more connection within, like, the Minneapolis soccer community, and so she's the one who actually sent me the flyer on Instagram, and she was like, "Hey, like, there's a new team coming here, like, you 100% should try out," and I'm like, "Oh, wait
Ooh,
a minute." Yeah, I'm like, "Hmm."
okay.
This actually is interesting, but I think it was, like, the January I got back from winter break, and obviously, I was at home just, like, eating and living life and not, like, thinking about working out, so I'm like, "Ooh, that's gonna be a tough turnaround for trying to be in shape," but I was like, "I'm just gonna do it." Like, worst that happens is I just don't make it, but at least I tried it. Kind knew I'd be mad at myself if I never tried out,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I went to the tryout, like, first, like I said, end of the first week of January. It went pretty well. I kept telling them, like, "Hey, probably the oldest one here, just, like, watch out for my knees giving out or something happening to me."
Okay.
I remember I went up to the trainer and I was like, "Yeah, like, just keep an eye out for me."
Hey, this is Elliot. Sorry to interrupt the pod that you're enjoying right now. Promise we'll get back to it as quick as possible. But I just want to say thank you guys for taking the time for listening to this episode. If you want to support us further, you can do so by following us on Instagram at Can I Kick It FC and on Twitter CIKIFC. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at Can I Kick It FC and also on Twitter at CIKIFC. Thanks. I'll let you guys later. Icy hot. Keep it ready.
Exactly.
Keep the icy hot ready.
Yes. And then she was just, like, laughing, and she was like, "Okay, okay, I got you, but, I made it through the 2 hours,
Okay.
barely."
That's
For
good.
sure was like, "I'll sit out the first scrimmage, like, you girls go ahead." Oh my gosh, but yeah, it was really good though, and, like, the coaches and everything were super sweet and nice, and yeah, so I really enjoyed it, and I thought I had a good tryout too.
Oh, word. I'm imagining you did. So when you were going through the trial, did you let them know, like, hey, I'm a dental student? Like, what was their reaction?
So, like, before you tried out, you had to fill out all these forms, and one of them talked about, like, your availability for the team, and it was like and then it's like what you're doing now, kind of, and so I kinda told them on that form, like, "Hey, obviously, like, I love soccer and stuff, but this can't be, like, my number one priority right now just because I am a dental student, like, if that's the reason I don't make the team, I understand, but if they're willing to work with me, like, that's even better." And
Yeah.
so, yeah, Coach Cole called me. We kinda talked about school and everything. She was like, "As long as you communicate with us, like, we're willing to help you and work with you," which is nice.
Yeah, that's good to see. That's good to see.
Mhm.
Because now I'm kind of seeing the pattern of like throughout your career, you've always had people that were willing to work with you. Whereas it very easily could
Mhm.
have been like, no, you have to either choose this or choose that, whether it's your parents
Exactly.
or high school, college, whatever.
Yep. Exactly.
Why do you think that's so important? Why, like, because you hear somebody actually say like they never really got that support. What does it mean for
Mhm.
you to like have that support with you?
Like, from, different coaches and just, like, my parents and stuff.
Hmm.
Well, I think it allows me to be fully present in, like, both things I'm doing, without, like, feeling bad. And so it's like I can focus as much as my energy as I want into soccer, knowing that, my teachers or something are supporting me to like give it my all into soccer, but at the same time, like they know that I'm gonna be trying in the school side of stuff because my soccer coaches or like my parents are supporting me fully to like make sure my academics are good and okay.
Yeah.
So it's like the balance of being able to give effort into both of them without having to, I guess, feel bad or having to feel like I have to really just prioritize or choose one over the other.
Okay. Yeah. I
Mhm.
imagine that has to be amazing. So
Yeah.
I will say this though, when I went to go look at like the roster for the
Mhm.
Minnesota Aurora, I do find it cool and awesome that your picture is the only one of you in like the I can't remember the correct term for it.
Oh, my scrubs.
Yeah, your scrubs where
Yep.
everyone else is their college picture.
I know.
And I'm like, I know who she does.
I was like, I don't know if I feel like scrolling that far back on my phone to look for my roster picture right now.
So that just further lets me know that everyone other's picture probably is like a couple of years behind. Yours is the
Yes.
most updated. Okay. Okay. Also, I think I had to ask you this question. Since you did, I'm assuming Minnesota has a women's soccer team?
They don't actually.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna
I
ask you,
know.
like, do you ever run into any of those players or anything like that?
No, they only have a men's team. I kinda remember I was looking forward to that too. I'm like, "Oh," like, Michigan doesn't have, like, a NWSL team, and I love watching, like, women's soccer, obviously, and
Yeah,
there's no team here, so I'm like, "Dang," but hopefully, I feel like this would be a city that can start it, so
yeah. So, who do you follow in WSL? Do you have like a certain team or player or anything?
no teams really, it's mostly, like, Alex Morgan. That's my girl.
Okay, okay.
I don't remember which World Cup I first maybe it was the 2015 one or 2011 that I was like, "Yep, she's it, like, that's my girl." Love
Yeah,
watching her play, everything she does, and then I usually am really, I like the US women's national team, obviously, like, I watch, like, every one of their games. I try not to miss a game with them. But the team is becoming so new. I feel like they're bringing in a lot of, like, younger or, like, newer players, you know?
yeah,
So the players I kinda, like, grew up watching are kinda moving on.
yeah. Definitely. No, I feel you though. I feel you because I think the first Women's World Cup that I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch every single game and I'll be all into it
Mhm.
was definitely 2018. So, and I
Oh,
was
yeah.
yeah, and I was like, I was all in and like Roosevelt, all of them. And then the pandemic
Yep.
happened. I was thinking to myself, like, if that's the last World Cup we ever see, I feel pretty good.
That's true.
I feel pretty good about this.
That's very true.
But speaking
But
about the
yeah.
women's national team, like we're starting to see this, like you said, like a lot of the older players are starting to phase out, but you're starting to see a
Mhm.
more diverse group, a lot more black women coming to be star players, like
Mhm.
Katarina Macario, players like that. For you yourself as a professional athlete, how does that make you feel to start to see more people of color kind of break through the women's national team and things like that?
Yeah, it feels good. I think Crystal Dunn was one of, like, the first people I remember I followed her back in, like, her UNC days, 'cause she was just so good, and then seeing her be able to make it to the national team, I was like, "Okay, so, like, we can really do this," you know? Because before, I was, like, went through the, like, Olympic development program, like ODP, where kind of like, I feel that's, like, what a lot of players go through,
Hold
and
on.
then
Excuse me. Whoa,
what
wait. Let's unpack this. You went to the Olympic Development Academy?
So it's like Olympic development program, you start at, like, the state level, and then you go with your state team, and then you can get, like, recruited from playing those games, make it to the regional team, which so I went to regional team, I went to regional camp, and then I think I was, like I played forward there, and I got, like, MVP or something for, like, scoring there, and
Yeah.
then after that, I was like, I feel like I haven't been in this like, program or group, long enough for anything to go further, but that's, like, where a lot of girls can even start to see, like, national team call-ups and stuff like that, or, like, for even, like, the under 23 or, like, under 20 teams and stuff like that, so it's kind of like, there's a lot of politics, I guess you could say, that don't usually favor women of color,
Yeah.
and so being able to see people like Crystal Dunn and even like Lynn Williams and people like that, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Like we're making some progress. It's not a lot of progress, but some progress is being made for sure.
So there's an alternate universe where I'm talking to you where you're a women's national team player. Gotcha. Okay. All right. There's something new on every podcast. All right. I guess I want to ask you this last question, and then I hope I'm not taking up too much of your time because
Oh
I know
no,
you got
you're
a lot of
fine.
studying to do. Um, one, how what are your goals and expectations for this season coming up? with Minnesota Aurora? Like, what are you expecting to do this year?
I honestly have, like, no expectations really, so I feel like that's why I'm kind of excited for it. I'm just like, I don't know, like, if we come out and, like, win the championship, like, our first year, like, that's amazing. If we also come out and, like, obviously wanna, like, win a good amount of games, but if we don't, it's like I still have to play competitive soccer. I'm just excited, honestly, to be able to be in this competitive nature again because it's been a long time, and I really, really did miss it a lot.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and my last question for you is being being an African American woman
Mhm.
and having not only two dualities of being a future dentist, but also like a professional soccer player,
Mhm.
that how difficult it is. But do you ever find yourself just sitting back and thinking like, I should not be able to do this, and yet I am proving everybody wrong.
Oh, yes. I have those talks with myself a lot of times, but I feel like, it's hard 'cause I guess growing up, like I've been saying, I didn't really see many people, like, who look like me either playing, like, a women's national team or even, like, just the city I grew up in didn't see, like, Black dentists. My mom, obviously, I saw her being, like, a doctor and everything, but other than that, I haven't really had many women of color to be able to, like, see and be like, "Oh, okay, like, that is something I could do." So I kind of feel like I'm like not groundbreaking because there's already so many people doing it, but for me personally and like my age kind of, it feels good. I feel like the little kids, can see someone like me and be like, okay, okay, like this could be a possibility, honestly.
I hate to break it to you, but you are groundbreaking. You look, you're about to be a dentist and a professional soccer player. I don't think too many people are juggling those two careers, lucrative careers,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? So,
Everyone's first question to me is like, how are you gonna do it? And I'm like, I've been balancing school and soccer my whole life. Like it's kind of, like, weird it was weird when I wasn't balancing it, so
yeah. How is mom taking it? You know, because when you I'm pretty sure there was, like, a year or so where she was like, "Oh, my daughter's not playing sports," and then you told her like, "Hey,
Yeah.
mom, just got signed. I'm
I
back at it."
remember Aurora's like, "Hey, like, your player announcement's coming up," and I'm like, "Ooh, probably should tell my parents about this."
So wait, you haven't even told your parents that you tried
No,
out?
no, I didn't even tell 'em I tried out, nope. I was like, "Whatever, like, what they don't know won't hurt them, like, if I don't make this team, I don't need to worry them, like, it's okay." But then I found out I made it, like, in January, I wanna say, and I was just like, I'll just, like, I'll tell them eventually." And then when the player announcements came out, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't told my parents yet. I need to tell them."
So how did that go?
It honestly went better than expected. I remember I called my dad and I'm like, "Hey." And he's like, "What?" Like, I can hear something in your voice.
Yeah, that's the dad voice, like, "Do you
Yeah.
want money or food? What is it?"
And I'm like, "So, the soccer teams I used to play for this summer when I was in school at Michigan State?" My dad is like, "Oh gosh." And I'm like, "Yeah, so I actually tried out for a team here and I made it. Yeah, I'm gonna be playing." Like, really fast, and he was like, "What?" And then I'm like, "Don't worry, like, it's gonna be really good, it's gonna be good for network." I try to bring, like, the school side of it. It's gonna be good for, like, networking, just, like, meeting new people and making new connections. And they're like, "Wow." They're like, "You're so funny, like, we knew you were never gonna give it up fully, but I guess that's good for you, just don't get hurt."
What does it mean, like, "Don't get hurt"?
Yes.
Like, don't go score a bunch of goals, like, do not ruin your knees.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, man, this has been an amazing podcast with you. It's been
Yeah, no, I
hilarious.
loved it.
It's been amazing. Any final thoughts? Any final things you wanna say?
Thank you for having me and inviting me on this, honestly. I love just, like, getting to talk, especially because I don't really know many people from around or are you from the Minnesota area?
No, I'm not. I am far away. I'm from Virginia,
Oh. I was gonna say I don't know people around here, so it's fun, but never mind.
but don't worry, like, I will definitely watching some Minnesota Aurora games.
Okay, I wonder,
But
like, how people are gonna be able to watch because like, my parents for sure are gonna wanna watch, but I don't really know.
that we'll try to figure that out.
Yeah, I guess we'll
We'll try to
find
figure that
out.
out.
But yeah, so I guess just like thank you for having me on this. Like it was really fun talking to you and everything and
Oh,
meeting you.
yeah, well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
Where can everybody connect with you after you finish doing your, board exams?
After my board exams, because once April 1st hits, I need to delete all social media.
You gotta study for,
So
like, a 48-hour test. You better do everything.
literally, I'm like, I might as well just turn my phone off and put it like underneath somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, you might as well.
But my Instagram is at K and then YEWAH 10. And I'm pretty sure that's my Twitter handle as well.
Okay, alright. Are you
Not
gonna
a
wear the
very
number 10
creative
from
girl.
Minnesota?
What'd you say?
Are you gonna wear the number 10 from Minnesota?
I'm fingers crossed. I had to pick 3 numbers, and that was, like, my number 1 number.
Okay.
So,
Which 3 did you
we'll
pick?
see. I picked 10, 9, and then 24, RIP Kobe, but I was like, "About to
Okay,
represent."
okay. Did you always
Yes.
wear 10? Was 10 always your number?
Yeah, 10 was like that was it.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
Well, we just wanna say thank you for taking the time out of your day. It's a pleasure talking to you.
You as well.
Alright.